Hello. I want to come to the aid of a journalist called Ben Thompson, who had the charm and the good sense to giggle when he was verbally assaulted, really, by Nigel Farage. I think you are very, very boring, and I think that your viewers will find you very, very boring, and you ought to be held um, as a state media. You ought to be held as a state broadcaster to be better than that. It's extraordinary that Farage can get away with that sort of pass um, attitude when the BBC is not asking particularly probing questions. It hasn't done that for a long time. Look at Laura Quensberg. I think Ben Thompson is significantly better than Laura Quensberg, by the way. And Victoria Derbyshire, she played this sequence on her show on the late, whatever the late night show was last night, and then burst into laughter. She had a Conservative and an SNP guest. Farage is polarizing, and I think it's in his interests to create as much tension, as much fuss, as much fear as possible. He's the 21st century Mosey. That's how he sees himself, isn't it, really? He sees himself as somebody who's out to sabotage mainstream politics, just as there are so many people out there trying to sabotage mainstream media. We don't want to sabotage mainstream media. We want to make mainstream media good again. Mainstream media is a problem, just as Europe has gone through problems. I don't think that burning bridges, burning Europe, burning mainstream media is the way to encourage a better system. Expanding media, yes. Expanding Europe, yes. Ditching it, no. And Farage refused to appear on Victoria Derbyshire's show, just as he refused to answer Ben Thompson's questions. But I trust he doesn't refuse to answer the questions of people who open the door to him when he's on the doorstep and they ask him the same question. You've stood 7 times. What makes you think people will trust you now? You've stood for various different emanations of your party. It's had 3 different emanations. It's like a sort of trinity of ghastliness. Brexit. What was it? Brexit, UKIp, and now Reform UK. Okay, mate, he said. So how many times have you stood? Well, it's Ben Thompson asking the questions, and Farage turns that round. What do you know? And Ben Thompson tried to persist, but he had a little giggling moment. Because Farage, it's like looking at an angry cat. And although you really do want to sympathise when the cat gets really angry and boxes you, all you want to do is giggle. It's happened to me when my old cat got very angry when I introduced the boy to her. And I'd got her. She was this wonderful female cat called Hannum. And she died about 2 years ago. And she's buried in the garden. And I introduced Bay to her. Bay is this wonderful boy cat, and he was a red point Siamese with an extraordinary character. But when it came to character, she outstripped him. She was dominant. She was thoughtful. She was hugely intelligent, and she did that sort of thing which is very rare among cats, where she does eye contact. He never did eye contact. He looked away at every opportunity. He wanted to snuggle close but look away. She did eye contact, and when I introduced the boy, she had a habit of sitting on the top shelf of the wardrobe, and she sat there one night and wouldn't come out. And I went over to her and I said, "What's the matter?" And she stared at me and then she boxed me twice, claws pulled in. And it took all my strength not to laugh because she looked so serious. And she was, of course, extremely cross that I'd brought another animal into our home. Eventually she settled down and she was fine, and she looked after this new cat. She always made sure he knew who was boss. And she forgave me, I think. But Farage is like an angry cat. And Ben Thompson did exactly what anybody else would do in the situation, any sensible person, any person with an IQ and emotional intelligence. He laughed, as did Victoria Derbyshire. And that's the only thing you can do at Farage. You can laugh. Because he doesn't like it when he's not the author of the jokes. And when the jokes are off colour, when the jokes are racist, he gets on his high horse and says, "Well, it's just a joke. Can't you take a joke?" Well, I'm afraid he can't. He can't. I remember very well when Coburn made his off-colour joke about Humza Yousaf. And Farage said, "Well, it's just a joke. Can't you take a joke?" No one's laughing, Mr. Farage. And now you are the subject of the joke. You're not laughing. But I'm sure Ben Thompson will not be the last person to snigger at Farage.